What's up, everybody? Happy Wednesday.
Hello, hello.
Hey, Christina, Tiana, Mr. Crispers, Proud Bird, Adam, everybody, thank you for coming. Let everybody get in here. We are excited about tonight. We've got an amazing dude on, Flynn Hendrix. We'll put some links in the chat. We'll let him talk. We're just going to hang out for an hour or so and talk and hang out and have a good time like we have been on these wrestling podcasts that everybody's been enjoying. So how is everybody's Wednesday going right now? Make sure to switch to live chat. Hey, Mystery Box. What's up, Amy? Thank you, Christina, for linking. Everybody go over there and show some love to Flynn. And is that working? Because, yes, okay, thank you, Mr. Crispers. Because I knew the one that was straight off IG wasn't. And I knew I linked it right in the bottom. Terry, what's up? Now, guys, if you're not following Headless Ned, make sure you're following him. We're doing a live on the 16th where we're going to be building Legos. I have a really cool Lego figure over there to build, and we'll be there. Oh, man. We will be praying for you, Mystery Box King. Hey, what's up, dude? How's it going, Poppin'? Welcome to the party. What's up, Gary? So we've got a great show for you tonight. Think of some questions you might have. We're going to talk and chat, talk about wrestling, maybe some behind-the-scenes stuff and some stuff you guys didn't know. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce our guest, Flynn Hendrix. Let me unmute him. What's up, dude?
Man, thank you guys for having me. And I feel like I got some big shoes to fill. And I'm talking about my own, but man, you guys served me up good. I hope you're not lying to all these people.
Maybe just a little for you, man.
Never let the truth get in the way of a good introduction.
So you are friends with a mutual friend, Terry?
Absolutely, good old Headless Ned.
How did you guys meet?
Man, oddly enough, it's crazy to say. It's actually coming up on about, I guess it was 2 years ago now. We met at ICC Con down here in Nashville. We were actually in the media room, and our tables were right next to each other, and pretty much spent the whole weekend right there. We even, what's up, Terry? We even went on Rebel Force Radio and had like Obi-Wan trivia to win tickets to like their Star Wars celebration party that neither one of us could go to because we thought it was later in the weekend, but it was the night before. So like as I'm landing in Los Angeles, the party's going on, and we just both missed it. But we kept in touch after that, and then saw each other again at last year's ICC, and still he ain't tired of talking to me yet. I think he wants to give me a stunner at some point too.
That's awesome. That's awesome. All the
Absolutely.
People. Oh, Mr. Greg, haha, you're funny. But no, so we're going to talk about everything. I see all the collectibles behind you, so we're going to need to talk about that at some point.
Of course.
Because I am a toy and collectible channel, but I do have a deep love for wrestling. And throughout my collection, I collect Funko Pops that are wrestlers. I meet a lot of wrestlers. I do a lot of cons with wrestlers. And me and Carolyn have been going to OVW religiously for quite a while. We go to a lot of, we just love wrestling. So we decided to start doing like a once a month podcast and have a wrestler on just to chit chat and have a good time.
Absolutely. And speaking of OVW, next time you're there, if you get a chance to talk to the ring announcer, Eric.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He used to manage me back in the day.
Oh, really?
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, we'll have to talk to him on Thursday.
Absolutely. Just ask him about Bacon Enterprises. That's all you got to say.
Oh,
Yes,
yeah.
definitely.
Yeah. I'm familiar with that. That was before my time going there, but yeah, I'm very familiar with it.
Yep.
Very, very cool. So, the first question I always like to start off with was, we'll get into how you started to become a wrestler.
Yeah.
But what made you want to become a wrestler?
So, in all honesty, for the longest time, like for the first 12 years of my life, I think I tried to reject it. I've even gone back in like home videos and Thanksgiving, and what do I hear in the background? I hear Vince McMahon calling like the first Survivor Series. I hear all this, like it's always been around me. And I even went to Bash at the Beach 2000 before I was like a diehard fan, like the one with the infamous Hulk Hogan lays down, or Jeff Jarrett lays down for Hulk Hogan. all that stuff goes on. Couldn't even tell you that happened, but I could tell you that 2 fans were drunk and fighting behind me in the stands. I just went because we were on vacation and some guy offered us tickets. So, I mean, it took me being around other people that were actually wrestling fans consistently. And then the 2002 Royal Rumble happening, and all my friends were going to watch it, but I wasn't going. So I felt left out. And I'm like, well, I guess I got to bite the bullet because I don't want to be the only one not hanging out now. So I start watching Raw, and then what happens? Here comes the NWO, here comes The Rock, and you see The Rock get smashed in an ambulance by a semi truck, and you get hooked after that. But just like seeing that first match of The Rock and Hulk Hogan and all the buildup behind that, that hooked me. But it just it only got, well, depending on who you talk to, it only got worse from there. I could not get enough of it at that point. But it was like WrestleMania 18, that whole time is what officially sucked me into all of it.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. So how did you start off? Once you did that, what'd you do?
I stayed a fan pretty much anytime I could go to a show, even like skipping marching band events to go to live, like WWE live events that weren't even televised in Nashville. If it was a football game and we had a marching band show, I would call in sick or whatever and just go to that show and try to meet the wrestlers or whatever it was. And eventually come to find out one of my cousins down in Memphis had a relationship with Coco Beware. Like her daughter was on a cheer team with Coco's daughter. And she said, hey, I know you like wrestling. So next time you're in Memphis, why don't I introduce you guys? And that was about 2005. Got to go down there and meet him. And not going to lie, it kind of took me off guard because he was maybe like an inch or two taller than me. And, this guy's like a WWE Hall of Famer now, but I'm like, okay, I've always liked it, but this guy is maybe my size. Maybe there's a chance for me to want to do that, for me to get into it. So I started asking him about it, kept in touch with him. And he's one of the rare wrestlers that ever told me, if you go to college and you get your degree, I will train you. And we kept in touch through that. But a lot of wrestlers are just like, yeah, let's just start, let's just take your money and never get you a match or whatever it would be. But we stayed in touch, and then come to find out I was going to school with a guy that was actually a year younger than me in wrestling here in Nashville. So he told me, hey, you need to check out this show called USWO that was run by another Memphis guy named Tony Falk. And it's 10 minutes from my house. Didn't even know it existed. Didn't even know what independent wrestling was at that time. So went down there to check it out. And at the time, another guy who's going to come up a lot more in this story, I'm going to actually be crossing paths with him this Saturday, Chris Michaels, was running the training school at that time and didn't know squat about him. But when I started researching him just to find out, this was a guy that was like very instrumental and very hands-on. And he even had a cameo in the Randy Orton biography that A&E just did. Like, he was there hands-on training like Brock Lesnar, John Cena, Batista, all these guys that were going through OVW back in the early 2000s. And he's there, he's one of the ones that helped Randy Orton get out of wrestling in a t-shirt, of all things, like just random things like that. And he was going to be the one running the training school, but precursor to my future, him and Tony Falk had a falling out. So Tony's son LT took over the school. I talked to Coco about that because he knew Tony, and he said, hey, yeah, if Tony's a straight up guy, and if he's running a training school there, you have my blessing to go ahead and get started because it's so close. And that's all started right around the same time I started college. So every weekend, instead of, getting drunk with my roommates or whatever it was, I was coming back to, train and get ready to have my first match and just kind of chase that starving artist dream.
So you mentioned, that there was this wrestling right around the corner from you and you had no idea. It's kind of like there was this period of time when WWE took over the world and everybody forgot about the small guy. And I think it's amazing how much now, though, I know in my Facebook feed, I belong to or like so many different independent organizations. It's amazing how many of them have come back to life now and are starting up every day.
Absolutely. And I mean, what's crazy too is at that same time I was starting in is around the same time, like Ricochet, who's in WWE now, he was coming through down here and, just like hearing all the stories. Like I remember doing a show with him on a Saturday night just to show you how crazy this world can be. As a random Saturday night in Nashville, there were only 8 people in the crowd, but he still went out there and, like did everything that he can do that hurts me to even think about doing. But, it's just like all these guys, some of these guys that are on TV now came from the same place. So like there's hope that, you know, if you want to see these guys before they're famous, you can just look in your own backyard and find these independent shows and go support them there, and, you know, grassroots all the way to the, you know, to the top.
Exactly. I mean, there's a lot of wrestlers. That's like what it's kind of backwards on that one, but like with Enzo,
right?
And
Or yeah, see them on the way back down too.
Right.
So depending on which way they're going, but yeah, I mean, like I said, Enzo's at OVW now, so. Or
what's that belt you got sitting over there?
That is actually the one I currently hold. It's the Triple Crown Wrestling All-American Championship.
Ooh.
So trying to load another one in my bag this Saturday if that comes up. But recently had the AIWF World Television Championship. Sadly lost that one, but I've still got this one, and this one's a little bit more important to me. So I guess it all works out for the best.
And we do have some stuff that you sent me to show for the show on Saturday.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
We got the promo that you
Yes.
guys want to see, and we got the flyer about it. We definitely want you to talk about that a little bit.
Absolutely.
It sounds awesome down in Horse Cave. That's what we're going to try to come down there to see that show. It's not.
I have my table set up, so come by. We got to get a picture.
All right, yeah, we definitely have to come by and say hi.
Absolutely.
We got. I think I saved that here. So I should be able to present this. Window. That should be it right there. All right. So there we go, guys. You want to talk a little bit about this one?
Absolutely. So the company that's putting this show on is called Ultimate Championship Wrestling. And they are the longest running continually active promotion in the state of Kentucky. They started back in 1997, and they have run continuous since then. I know some people say that OVW has been around a little bit longer, but if you want to get down technically to it, they started in Indiana and then migrated down, but they're pretty much right there neck and neck. But for 24 of those 27 years now, they've been doing a fundraiser for the athletic department at the Caverna High School. So they put this show on. They bring in big names like this year. I actually had a small hand in bringing in Scott Steiner, WWE Hall of Famer. They're bringing in Hall of Famer Hillbilly Jim, who's from right there in Kentucky. Chris Michaels, again, coming up. Chase Stevens from TNA. James Ellsworth from WWE. Wolfie D. They're bringing all these guys in to do meet and greets before the show. James Ellsworth, Chris Michaels, and Chase Stevens are all going to have matches on the show, and two of them are in a match with me. But what goes on is the money that's raised at this show goes to benefit all the athletic departments at the Caverna High School. So it's not just for one specific sport. Like it benefits, you know, girls volleyball, basketball, wrestling, football, whatever they have going on. It just helps benefit the entire department. And then on top of that too, it's got a lot of matches that have been built up over time. Like mine personally has been building to this point for 2 years now. So I'm kind of chomping at the bit to get to it. And it's an up and down story, and I'm sure we'll get into the details on that. But yeah, it's a very sentimental one to me. And I'd be lying if I said that I didn't feel like it was probably the most important match I could have, even over like stuff I've done with WWE and everything else. There's just a lot of sentimental and emotional stuff behind it too.
It looks awesome. I'm super excited about it, but we're going to jump to a comment because this is a good way to segue, because I want to know, Billy, defend your tell me why you say that. I mean, I could probably give you we could go for another hour with me telling you why it's a sport. Is it Billy has made a statement in the chat that wrestling is not a sport after you called it a sport. And I take offense to that, and I'm not even a wrestler. And I want to know, Billy, why do you think it's not a sport?
I have my diplomatic response chambered.
My response is always that some people have said that before, but because, you know, it is predetermined.
Yes, but that doesn't mean it always goes the way it's supposed to.
Correct. And the fact that I don't know if is a sport. I never looked up the definition. Is a sport defined by if there's a winner and a loser?
I don't know. It can't be, because in soccer there's sometimes no winner or no loser. It's a draw.
And Terry actually brought in a good point too here. You know, if we don't land right, and even if we do land right, sometimes they could go to the hospital. There's a lot of training that goes into it too.
The ropes from my knowing. The ropes are hard and they're not ropes, they're cables. They're covered in a thin layer. When you hit the ropes, they hurt.
It hurts.
It hurts. The harder you hit the ropes. I shot a video at OVW and they let us mess around in the ring without recording it because, you get in trouble if you do anything that represents wrestling and you don't have a wrestling license.
Yes.
In Kentucky, correct. So, we bounced around the ropes and stuff. Very surprising how thin the mat is. How hard the ropes, the steel cables are, even though you're going to call them ropes, and how thin the pads are on the turnbuckles.
And truth be told, too, there are some promoters that still, in WWE actually does this too. Their ropes are actual ropes. And with those too, like granted, the cables can snap sometimes, but you have to be careful with the actual ropes because they're a lot thinner. And if you're not careful, you can literally topple right over them if you're trying to run them. I've seen that happen tons of times. But I mean, it hurts. You have to build up a callus to it. And it's crazy to say that time off is your best friend, but there really is no off season with professional wrestling unless you take one.
Right.
Well, that leads to another question. I don't even ask this. Like, so what is your preparation for a match? Like you have a fatal four-way coming up on Saturday, right? And we don't ask you to tell us stuff you're not supposed to tell us or anything like that. But how do you prepare for like a fatal four-way match?
In all honesty, you go out there and stay on your toes. There was an old school saying, like you go out and you listen to the crowd, and that's something that's actually helped with my acting background. Funny that Deanna would mention, acting, because that's actually helped me a lot in improv. But the thing is if I go out there and try to remember so many things, like I want to do this move, then I've got to turn around and take this move, you get lost. It looks robotic and it doesn't feel real or authentic. And, the comment was said, it's not a sport, but I can do things that make you suspend your disbelief. I can chop a guy so hard that his chest starts bleeding. And I mean, Terry saw the video from ICC last year. You have to be able to improvise on the fly. Cause like I mentioned earlier, you might have something predetermined, but if somebody gets hurt or, something happens, you have to be able to improvise and just change on a dime. So
you're calling plays on the spot.
Yes. So basically I might have maybe one or two things that I will piece in if it feels right out there. But if the crowd's not buying it, I'm not going to give them something that they don't want to see. Most of the time they want to see me get the living hell kicked out of me, if I can say that. But,
yeah, you could say that.
It's just, it's playing it by ear and then having a level of trust with the people that you're in there with, whether you like them or not. And, after a while, you've had so many matches with this person, something that they're going to do when they move a certain way, and you have to be ready to just go with that,
So you got those guys that, like, when you get to wrestle them, it's like a lot of fun for you because you've wrestled them before and you know how good of a match you can put on because you know their limits.
Yep.
And you know that, because I know it probably takes a lot of trust, that the other person's going to do things right, not to cause you harm, right?
And the biggest thing too is you have to be, like in strong cardiovascular condition, you have to have good muscular endurance. And so do they, because most times when somebody gets hurt, it's because the other person is just completely, blown up and exhausted. They can't even get a full breath. Then they get sloppy. They're trying to rush through things. And it just, you have to have some type of stamina, whether you're like, you have 6-pack abs or not is irrelevant in my book. But as long as you can go in the ring like a Dusty Rhodes did, then that's what matters. Because, I've recently, a lot of my matches have gone 25, 30 minutes and, you can't be out there sucking wind at the end of it. You have to be able to have that endurance. You have to train to look like somebody that the people want to pay to see, but also be able to back it up with your stamina as you're doing that. Because, you mentioned 30-man battle royal. I recently did one of those right after a match a couple weeks ago. And it wasn't like just everybody's in there at once. It's a 2-minute interval, similar to a Royal Rumble, where you are in there for X amount of time and you have to be able to keep your wind up, whether you're tired or not, And so, I mean, I would classify that as a sport too. But again, it all comes back to being in shape and just listening and going on the fly more than anything.
Now, Bosco did ask.
Yes.
I don't think we talked about it yet, but what is your finishing move?
At one point I was using a headlock driver most recently, which if you're not familiar with that, you get a guy in a headlock and I would fall forward and basically he would fall like he was taking a DDT. But recently I have converted to a knee lift neck breaker combo because it's easier to hit on just about everybody.
That's a pretty cool one too. Now to sidetrack on what we looked up earlier. Okay. The definition of sport is an activity involving physical exertion and skill in which an individual or a team competes against each other for entertainment. For entertainment. It doesn't say win or lose, nothing like that. It says for entertainment, right?
So and then, I mean,
they have to be in good shape. I mean, we go to OVW and you see Cash, and he's like the dude who, like him and Kevin Owens and stuff.
Yeah.
Other than the fact that they put the work in to have, like he said, the cardiovascular to be able to put up with the match. A dude the size of like Cash Flow or Kevin Owens,
Big Zo.
But I mean, I see those guys every week climb to that top rope and go flying through the ring and doing crazy stuff. That's sports. That's work.
And one of my friends, another guy that I wrestle with that I actually met like my first day in training, he's based out of Wisconsin. His name's Xavier Mustafa. This guy is
seen that name.
So you've probably seen pictures of him. He's about 6'7" or so, probably hovering around 400 pounds, if not maybe a little bit more. But I mean, he can go up to the top rope as long as there's enough ceiling room, and he can do a picture perfect moonsault. Like I've seen him do that. Like so. Clearly, it doesn't always have to be about the look, but it's the stamina, like you said. Like these big guys can go in there and do a lot of impressive things you wouldn't picture them being able to do.
I would say technically there's more physical exertion in a wrestling match than there is in football at certain times.
Well, I'll say this because and it's this
nothing to put down football because I know you played, but
well, that's actually part of my what I'm about to say here because everybody, especially in wrestling, they hate the term sports entertainment, but I call myself a sports entertainer because I feel like if you just say professional wrestler, it's a little one-dimensional. Right. But if you want to get right down to it, if you pay to go to a football game or you sit down and watch a football game on the couch, if you pay to go to a baseball game or sit and watch it on the couch, or you watch an MMA match, that's sports entertainment because it is a sport and it's entertaining you. So every sport is sports entertainment if you want to get right down to it.
If anybody wants to answer the question, my dog's even upset. You have to deal with the giant dog who randomly barks.
Not a problem with me.
Was the AEW pay-per-view? AEW pay-per-view from Sunday.
Don't get me started.
Daniel Bryan versus Eddie Kingston. Oh, don't get you started on that.
Well, I'm mainly just the thing that came out today about saying fans were waiving liability if they stayed in the front row after that absolutely stupid glass spot that happened, but I won't go there.
I don't know how needed that was.
I don't either, unless they were just trying to maybe we can get him to do this. Let's see how far we can get him to go just behind the scenes for fun, but
it didn't make sense. I mean,
no.
You knew that it was like they weren't going to lose the titles, okay?
Yeah.
Because it's Sting's last match, right? But then at the same time, you knew they were going to have to immediately vacate him.
Yeah.
And so it was like, that was a little melodramatic. And then the fact that just because, and I know people don't like this, just because Nick and Matt are so loved by Tony that they get to make decisions on things that happen that necessarily shouldn't have been that last match. I think, like I was watching, I watch a lot of, like when Kurt Angle was talking about how they put him in his last match in WrestleMania. And it wasn't against Cena, who his first match was against, right? It was against Baron Corbin, right? So it's one of those things to me.
And
kind of
on that, like I love Baron Corbin. I mean, obviously I'm a little bit partial to him because I got to be on TV with him, but with that story, I mean, like you could have given me John Cena, you could have given me Shelton Benjamin, Chad Gable, all these guys that I would have been more emotionally invested in than that one match because at that point, it just felt like that match was rushed and thrown together based off who Kurt's opponent was. And that wasn't fair to either one of those guys. It was just kind of lost in the shuffle of a 6-hour WrestleMania.
Yeah, sometimes those things aggravate me. I don't dislike Baron Corbin. I just don't think he was the right guy for that match. I mean, I just think that he's a good wrestler and he's a real nice dude and all that.
Yeah.
But I just think that he's like the sufferer of the always bad gimmick.
Right.
Yeah.
There's nobody's creative enough with him. Like, I think some of the best wrestlers come up with their own kind of gimmicks and run with them. And I just think that, I don't know, he was okay for a while with that. Like, it was like he was like down on his luck, Baron Corbin, remember? And then he was like, he won at the casino and he was like happy Corbin. That was kind of funny.
Absolutely.
Right? That was kind of classic. Is that how you came up with your character, kind of on your own and just built it?
In all honesty, for the longest time, at one point, for like I'll say the first half of my career, more than half actually, but and yes, he is a great asset for them. Can't say enough good things about him, but as I was basically going with just like, hey, I'm just a short, pissed off Irish guy because I had Irish heritage in my family. So everybody around me was like, oh, you should just get Irish singlets. You should get Irish gear. So I just listened and it worked. But then I took some time away to, get further into acting. And that actually helped, kind of broaden the spectrum, brought on the name change and gave me more of a depth and reality to bring more authenticity to it. Because the things I'm doing, like some of the things I'm saying in promos, I'm being very vague with what I can say. But if I say like, hey, I just signed an NDA for one of the world's largest video game and voiceover companies, that's legit, but I'm not telling you who it was. I was just in this movie that came out for Christmas. You can see it on this app. If I can get it and make it obnoxious, but brag on myself where it's real and somebody goes and looks it up, then, it brings more authenticity to it more than just me being the guy that's, 5'7" and just yells all the time because he's mad, so if you can bring this level of authenticity and what you actually enjoy into it, then it makes it easier to develop and hash out that character and give them more of a backstory. Because like the biggest thing that carries me is I've been a utility player for so long, or just kind of like back in the corner, not really the first draft pick, but it comes out in the character because there's a lot of chip on my shoulder because I carry that in my real life too. It's like I've shown up and worked shows where I've had to wrestle 3 or 4 times in a night because these other people just didn't care to show up. It was a no call, no show, but they come back into the picture and they're the one that gets right back to the top of the card. So I would bring that authenticity to it. And I think the biggest thing for me that's actually shown that it's working is that I've had people that are, veterans or maybe have a longer tenure, might be a better way to say it, in the business than I have, messaging me or getting mad at me because of what I'm doing because they think it's real. So like, if you can add just a smidge of realism to something that's just exaggerated and blown up, like the fact that I have to stop and like, just like, hey, it's a character, like it's not real, because I'm not going to sit here and shake your hand in the back if I have a problem with you. We will talk about it, but I would say it to your face. But if I'm doing this in character, it's an act. It's all it comes down to, I guess. But it's like if I can get the trained professionals to believe it, then I'm clearly bringing something good to the table, I would say.
So you mentioned, the acting and the voiceover. I just want to ask this question because I find that a lot of professional wrestlers, this is another side gig they have, stand-up comedy.
Yes.
Have you ever tried any stand-up comedy?
Man, it's funny you say that because I've talked about doing it for the last 2 years, but I never follow through with it. And I really want to, but at the same time too, I get in my own head about like, man, would it be funny, or is it just funny to me and people that actually know about what happened? Like I want to do it so bad because I could tell some entertaining stories, but I don't know how well it would translate to people that might not be around the wrestling or the acting stuff, but
I know
corporate stuff. I could make some good jokes.
Side gigs. So,
right.
And then you've got Brian, one of the announcers. That was one of his side gigs. There's a guy, PJ, the one that plays Shalante's lawyer.
Yeah.
He also, that's one of his side gigs, is he's a stand-up comedian. So I don't know if it's like some thing that just happens organically, or if the stand-up kind of brings them into,
I think,
to the wrestling part.
What I've come to realize is that if you can do something in the spotlight, like in front of thousands of people, or even just a small intimate crowd, those are the ones that are really more nerve-wracking than the bigger audiences, because it's more intimate. If you can do that, and especially if you can do it like in spandex and knee-high boots, you can control, like you can own a room with a microphone if you just like believe in what you're doing, no matter what you're saying. So I think it translates from that, because like you've done it in front of thousands of drunk rednecks, however many times over, a career. Who's to say I can't do it in front of drunk college kids now, or however it may play out?
Good point.
It's very interesting. We got one. I got this question I got to do, right?
Okay.
So I know you collect toys already, and you've been around Terry, so I already know the answer. But by default, since I am a Funko Pop channel, I ask everybody, do you know what a Funko Pop is?
Yes.
Do you own a Funko Pop?
I own a few. I actually don't own as many as I used to, but I've actually got, I'm looking at 6 autographed ones over here to my left, and then I've got 2 right up off camera that are autographed. All the ones I have now are still autographed.
See, and I was just talking to you about going to Lexington Comic-Con on Sunday, and there wasn't any wrestlers except for MJF that I wanted their autograph, because none of the other ones had pops yet.
Right.
Because I like getting pops autographed by wrestlers, but
the only thing I hate about the pop thing is that they can charge more for people to sign those at the convention. That's the only thing. I mean, I get it because they're so popular, but at the same time, it's like this little thing I have to pay more than getting a full-sized action figure autograph. But that's
Some of them do that, and I haven't ran into that too often. But the ones I've met that I've gotten their autographs have been pretty fair on most of them. The only guy I met, and he wasn't even a wrestler, and I've talked about him 100 times, and a lot of people agree with me how much of an a-hole he is Lou Ferrigno.
Oh, yeah.
If you've ever,
once.
Yeah. He's just kind of abrupt and rude, and like you wait in line for 3 hours for his autograph, and he's like, "Oh, you want a Funko Pop? That'll be $150, And I'm like, it's not even you. Like, that's not even your pop. It's just a Hulk gold pop, man. Like, it's not even you, dude. Like, you're gonna charge me that much? He's like, I know I have you by the balls.
Man, if you can charge that for a Funko Pop, I'm in the wrong line of work. God almighty.
I get most of them personally autographed to myself.
Right.
I go through the experience for the experience, to get the pictures, to meet the people. Then I see them at other cons. And then, there's local Comic Cons I do, like the Louisville Con and the Frankfurt Con. And I'm a guest at those cons.
Nice.
So I get to meet a lot of cool people, just like how you and Terry met,
Oh, yeah.
That's how I met Roy, the honky tonk man.
Oh, yeah.
He's
best buddies with the honky tonk.
I would not fanboy out on him at all the whole day. We only talked about regular stuff, and he brought up Funko Pops to me one time. And I just asked him at the end of the night when we were leaving, I told him, I said, you don't want to sit by me and talk about wrestling the whole day. I said, I know that. So I'm not going to bug you with that, but I got one question for you. Did Jake really hit you in the head with a real guitar instead of the fake one? Did you really do that to him? And he goes, Jake's a fucking liar.
I've only met him once, but like just the stories that he can tell, that's a guy that should do stand-up comedy right there, should have back in his day, because he's just so funny and so engaging with the way he does everything, the impressions he does. Like, that's an entertainer. Yeah, he's hilarious.
It was a very funny thing. I found this. I wanted to show everybody. I found this picture of you here. Let's see, where do I do it here? I need to stop what I was sharing. And you can tell that I haven't done this for 5 years and know what I'm doing.
If it makes you feel any better, the corporate meeting that I was in earlier had the same problem. So they had it. You got it down better than they did.
Well, usually it's not this many tabs.
Right.
So I have a lot, and these are actual pictures. So it's not like a tab on my web browser. I have to then open my photo program. But yeah, we found the picture when you were on Raw playing poker with Bradshaw and Corbin.
Moments before something bad happens.
Yeah, that was great. That was another trying to bring Corbin from a bad one.
Absolutely.
And then
And it's funny, like there's a funny story, a couple funny stories behind that, actually, if you want me to tell them.
Yeah, go.
So, like, getting to the show that day, we didn't know where to go in, right? Me and the guy that I went up there with, who was my tag partner at the time, still probably one of my best friends, and the guy that does all my workout routines now, we see Bradshaw walking in the building. And, you know, you hear all the rumors, you hear all the stories about him, and I'll try and not use the language he did, but, you know, it was like, I asked him, like, is this where we go in? He goes, I don't know. If you're following me, you're dumber than F. But, you know, turns out it was it. And then as we're walking in and going through security, he's like, you know, guys, I'm going to tell you all a story. Back in the 90s, when I was riding with Barry Windham, we would come into these arenas and find where they put all the signs up, and we would change the arrows and have all these dumbasses going in the wrong directions. And he was the complete opposite of every bad story I've ever heard about him. And then, you know, like, the producers start going around saying, hey, you know, like, we're not going to have any matches tonight where we need enhancement talent, but we may have a segment that needs 2 guys, right? So it was me and my tag partner, and then 3 guys from OVW. I think Luke Curtis was one of them. Anthony Katina was another one, and I'm drawing a blank on the 3rd guy. But at the time, like, Anthony just had like big gaudy earrings and just big blonde mohawk. Luke had been walking around all weekend, like, wearing like leather gloves, and Charles Robinson was joking like he was a hitman about to kill somebody, like when he's standing by ringside. And they ended up picking, you know, me and my tag partner Zach, because I guess we looked like the most down to earth or normal, could fly under the radar type of thing. And they pulled us in like, so here's what you're going to do. You're going to be playing poker with Bradshaw and Corbin. You're going to come in and serve them the drinks. They're going to insult you guys. They're going to cheat you on the poker. And, you know, there you go. So did the pre-tapes and didn't even know going in. I had my watch facing up. Akira Tozawa's off to the side, and he goes, hey, little secret, turn your watch upside down. That way they can't see the time when they do the pre-tape. So, I mean, it's like just all these little random things I never thought would happen right there. And then I started hearing him tell stories about, like, going to some of these arenas they're in now, when he was having a feud with Eddie Guerrero back in like 2004, about to win the WWE championship. And that was just like, oh my God, like, that was like peak fandom for me. And now here I am hearing you talking about reliving those memories as you're coming to these buildings. Like, it could not have gotten any cooler. And then you get to go out there and actually see it on the Titantron, man. It was a surreal experience. That's the only way I can think to say that. It was just absolutely insane.
I bet it was a lot of fun. I saw that, and I saw you because you've done some security.
Yep, SummerSlam with like Seth Rollins and Matt Riddle.
Right.
And that was pretty cool. And I don't want to forget, because I watched it earlier. It was pretty cool. Don't worry, the screen's not going away. It's just me finding my footing on where we need to be. Because I want to show, he sent me this promo he did for what's going on. Now, Mr. Crisper's linked the actual clip from the WWE YouTube channel that is his scene with Bradshaw and Corbin and all that. I can't show that on here because WWE will come after me, even though I don't monetize this. I don't monetize these, so nobody gets commercials and stuff like that. And usually we say things that they take away monetization for, or we show stuff that they say we can't show. So, but we've got this really cool promo you did. So I want to share it with everybody so they can see you in action, man.
Oh, boy.
Ha, ha. All right, we're going to share that. On.
Almost time.
I think that's about it. All right. I'm going to take us off real quick. And we're going to play this.
It's almost time for the Caverna Super Show 24 right there at the Caverna High School in Horse Cave, Kentucky, where you're going to be able to go and meet Hall of Famers from the WWE like Big Papa Pump Scott Steiner, former World Heavyweight Champion, Hall of Famer Hillbilly Jim, Kentucky's own. You're going to get to meet world-traveled entertainers like The Natural, Chase Stevens, or Wolfie D of PG-13. You're even going to get to meet the human snapping turtle from WWE, James Ellsworth. I mean, come on, any man with two hands has a fighting chance, right? But on top of all that, on top of the stacked card that's going to happen at this year's show, the main event, the cherry on top, is what's going to make Caverna go Hollywood. Because this year, I finally get my chance after putting bounties out for this championship, after putting everything on the line to get my hands on the UCW Ultimate Championship, the most prestigious title in the state of Kentucky. There's no more running. There's no more hiding. There's no more detours. Matter of fact, there's no more games. There's no more creating championships. There's either getting a championship or there's not. And to get that championship, I have to go through three of the best competitors this area has to offer. The legendary headliner, Chris Michaels, the legend builder. The young, hungry UCW Southern States champion, Brandon Wolf, the man who ended my legendary 15-month reign at last year's Caverna in the main event. And then there's James Ellsworth, a man that could not put me down. It took 6 chair shots to the back and a super kick to finally put me down. And all I have to do is survive all 3 of them to get what has eluded me for 2.5 years. So, boys, I hope you're ready. Caverna Super Show 24, I hope you're ready, because we're going Hollywood. And I know you hear me when I say I'm not leaving without that championship.
Very cool, man.
Man, who was that guy?
Yeah, I know. Who was that? That was very nice, man. Very nice.
Thank you.
Very serious, to the point. Yeah.
It was very good. And
I will always say I'm a better talker than I am in the ring. I will say that much to a T. Like, I guess Roddy Piper, maybe. I don't know.
that was very good. And guys,
thank you.
Mr. Crispers has been linking all of Flynn's socials. I have a link for the link tree. You got to update your one on Instagram, man.
Is it not? Which one is it on?
I think you have to update that link from your phone, but the link that's in your bio that takes you to Linktree, it doesn't take you to Linktree.
Oh.
The only reason that I was able to get the right link to give out and everything was because you sent it to me.
Good to know.
So that's the one I did link, by the way. So the one that Mr. Crispers is putting in, that one does work. So,
man, thank you for telling me. I did not know that was a thing.
Technology.
Yes, technology. Yeah, I know. And it's annoying because you have to update the link tree, the link in your bio from your profile on the app on your phone, right? Yep. So, like, I usually go on my computer and set it all up and then email myself the link.
Man, of all things, it was a backslash. It's fixed now, so I just tried
good.
it. It works.
Good. I'm glad.
Y'all doing the Lord's work. Thank you.
Glad I could help out in a little bit of a way. Well, I want you guys to check out the show. It's going to be on Saturday evening, and we're going to definitely try to go.
Right.
Absolutely. And hopefully I'll see you guys there. And, should anybody be able to make it out, I may be the bad guy on the show, but I'm still taking pictures before the show. I've still got merch available. I've even got shirts like these for sale. And 10% of every sale I make goes to both the Nashville Humane Association and St. Jude. So if you want to donate to one of those causes, or if you want to get some merch and help support them too, like, those are both big things that are, near and dear to me. So I try to help out with that and try to get wrestling fans on board with that too. So if you get a chance, check it out. And even if you don't want merch, just support one of those charities too.
Yeah, and if any of you guys do want merch or a shirt or anything, if I end up making it out on Saturday, I'll definitely grab you one. If you want one, just hit me up on IG. Yeah. I mean, everybody who comes live with me, I've known for years now, so right. I'm good with them.
We'll get you covered. It'll feel good too. These are I'm a shirt snob, so if you get a shirt, it's gonna be soft material. So
good. I like the soft material. That's usually the ones that I stick with.
I'm in good company.
Good. But guys, we are going to let Flynn go to put the kids to bed.
Yeah, they're out there actually wrestling right now. I don't know if y'all can hear anything in the background, but
No,
they're having their own SmackDown out there. So,
but we wanted to say thank you very much for coming
course.
on with us and spending time. We hope to see you tomorrow
My
night.
pleasure. Absolutely. And anytime you guys want me back, I'm more than happy to do it. If you guys want me to cut a promo for the show, I'm here to do it. I mean, just thank you guys for the opportunity.
Yeah, I'd like you. Yeah, we need to talk about that, dude. That would be awesome.
Let's make it happen. And then, of course, got to give a shout out to Terry too, man. Thank you for making the connection and helping set this up.
Terry's awesome, man. He's been a good friend to me for a couple years now.
Absolutely.
Good dude. So, guys, we're done. Go eat some dinner. Go put your kids to bed. Have a wonderful evening, everybody. And we will see you very, very soon.